Hi everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative, and man, are we getting close to Christmas. I can't believe how fast, well, time goes by really fast for me, and I can't believe how close we are to Christmas now. Anyway, we are going to do something sort of off the realm of Christmas, if you will. I said that I was going to start sort of going away from Christmas. Anyway, we have this soap dish, and we are going to be making that today. Now, we're going to do a couple of unusual things, or at least unusual as far as I'm concerned. How I'm going to throw this together. I have some red and white glass pieces here. These are by Ashland. I got these at Michael's. We're going to use those along with some dark red Lightwish Starry Color Series pigment. We're also going to use some ruby glitter by Recollections and some platinum glitter by Recollections. My plan is that in the bottom of this, we are going to mix up resin. We're going to put in rocks. We're going to put in glitter. We're going to put in the starry sky. It's not starry sky. Starry Color Series to do around the bottom of this. And I don't know if we're going to get right up to level of this or not, but the idea is that when you flip it over, this will be with the stones and the glitter and whatnot. And then my idea for the top part of that is to use a new pigment that I got from eye candy, and it's called a Goose paste. This is new to the eye candy world. I can't say how long, but it's relatively new. And it's a very, like, if you get this stuff, please know, because I've made a Christmas tree with it. If I can get that Christmas tree, I'll show you what it looks like. It's a very, like, you don't need a lot. I put a lot more pigment paste in this than I really needed to, but this is what the color is. Hopefully you can see that well. I jeweled it up a little bit. So that's what the back of the tree looks like. So my idea is to let the sort of the base set up for, 2 to 3 hours, and then mix up some of this and make it the bottom of the tray. So I wasn't sure about using, and this is called, let's get it right, this is Stan. This color is Stan. They've got some cool colors out there, or cool names for the cool colors, but it's very pigmented. You do not need a lot of this at all. Again, it goes back to how much do you want to put in. So if we do the bottom with the reds and the glitters and whatnot, and then make this what would be the bottom of it, I think it will look pretty cool, and I'm just willing to play to see how this is going to come out. I was thinking, what do I do? Do I just do red, dye in with the resin to do it? But that's kind of boring. And you know me, I'm anything but boring when it comes to my pieces. I like them to stand out, and I like them to be different. Anyway, that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with these pieces here, mix them up, get them in. I'm going to make up, I decided to make up 160 ml of resin. I don't know if I'm going to need that much, and it's okay if I don't, because I'll go find something else that I can put the rest into. And we'll get going on creating this sort of whimsical soap dish. I'll be back. All right, we are ready to get mixing. I'm just plugging in my camcorder so it doesn't decide to quit. We're going to mix in this container here because I don't want to get all kinds of sparkles and what have you in this mixing cup that I have that I very much like. And I figured it'll be easier to do it in a bit at a time than all kinds at once. Now I do have a fair number of air bubbles in this. I did use my mixing machine to alleviate making all kinds of bubbles if I did it by hand. I did shake this just in case you were wondering. Anyway, I did use my mixer and I did warm it up prior to mixing it. And if I kind of get lost in this video, I have to apologize. I have not been sleeping well. And so it's kind of messing up with my... it's messing me up, and I'm not liking it very much. So if any of you can't have issues with sleeping, I'm sure you can appreciate where I'm coming from. It's not fun when you can't sleep at night. And I don't like sleeping during the day, because if I sleep during the day, then I'm going to really be in trouble at night. So I don't want a lot of the sprinkles in here. It's more about the glass pieces, and we'll just use my fingers. There's no point in... I almost feel like this is going to be a bit of an old Canada kind of soap dish. So the idea is to have some glitz and glitter in here, but not a lot. It's more about the stones. So it will be interesting. I should probably spray my mold before I pour this in, because I know that we're going to be introducing bubbles because of the rocks, the glass. I made up 140 mil. I don't know if that's how that's going to work out for me. I figure because of the rocks, why do I keep calling them rocks? They're glass. They're broken glass. Because of the glass pieces, I figure I won't need as much. And that is why I only made 140. I was going to make 160, and then I decided no, I didn't want to do that. I think these pieces of glitter in here are going to be kind of nice, though. Let me see. Put some more on there. And I think what I'm going to end up having to do too is, when I thought about putting the glitter in, I went, oh, you know, you're going to get glitter. And it may not matter. Like, I'm thinking I'm going to get glitter in here. Hopefully I'm going to be able to take that off if I decide I don't want it. And then do the paste. So we'll see how this all plays out at the end of the day. I should really have that covered too. Yes, not overly organized. Yeah. So that looks pretty cool. Like, you can, in here, and the nice thing is too that with putting the starry series in here, it gives it just that nice little glow, which I like. There, just put a couple more drops in there. And I know it'll get all mixed up. I think this is going to be pretty. Let's spritz this just because we can. You know me, I don't like doing this. However, I figure because of the amount of, you know, the stones and whatnot, it might be a good idea. And I know also I'm going to have to push these down around the edges. So I think that's what's going to be a big part of this. I came up with a really, the blue tree I had done, I came up with an idea on what to use as the base for that. I was going to use just a small rectangular base for it. Before the end of the video, hopefully I'll remember, I'll show you the base I'm going to use for it, and then I'm going to decide whether or not I want to sort of create a scene around it. But in one of my stay up late kind of nights, I was down here in my studio space, and I got thinking about it, and I looked and went, oh, what about, those are always good moments when you have that where you kind of go, oh, that'd be a kind of cool idea. So I'll show you. And I also had someone ask me about my big tree I had done with the deep pour, about posting it on my Being Intentionally Creative Facebook page, and I will do that once I get it done. I've got it sanded now. I got it out to the garage and I got it sanded down the way I wanted it. And I think what I'm going to see about doing is using some of the PBO on it, because I have a couple of different shades of green. So I have some ideas for it. And I think, you know, this piece that I'm thinking of using as a stand for my blue tree, I feel that it would be too small for the tree and not heavy enough to put a stand with it. So I'm probably just going to leave that tree just on, like literally stand alone, because it's thick enough. And I've very much been annoying my puppy dog. Lately, whenever I've been mixing stuff up, she's been coming over to me and scratching at me. Not in a harsh way, not in a, just as a freaked out kind of way. And I haven't been able to follow the bouncing ball on that whatsoever. So I ended up having to get an old baby gate that we had. And I've sort of blocked her off. She can still get to her bed if she wants, but she can't get to me, because she was just, like, I just haven't been able to understand, yeah, why she's so freaked out. I really like my mixer, so anytime I'm mixing up resin now, that's when she's been coming over to me, and it's like, baby girl, you just gotta, like, I can't help you here. Okay, and I'm just thinking about bouncing this around a little bit. This is one of those things that takes a little bit, because you can't just pour it in. You gotta, and hopefully you're seeing what I'm doing. And the other thing I'm not fussy on is that I might have to see about cleaning up is the resin I'm getting up around the lip here. I kind of think I'm going to have enough. Right. I certainly am making a mess with this. That's okay. All part of the process sometimes, isn't it? hopefully some of the, I'm expecting to get some air bubbles in this, because I can even see them as I'm putting this in here. So hopefully they'll sort of dissipate. I don't know. This is one of those things that's, how do you prevent them when you're dealing with something that's like this? I mean, you could put it in a vacuum chamber, I suppose. I'd be a little leery doing that with a piece like this. I think this is going to look cool though. So let's pour get some of this resin that's on the top here. And if that cup's been in the way as I've been doing that, that's one of the things you try and prevent from happening, but it doesn't always work, does it? And we'll put spray some of my alcohol down here as well to hopefully alleviate some of the air bubbles. I don't think I'm going to, I was thinking of putting a little bit of resin, but I think I'm right to the edge here now. So I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and pull some of this off, I think. Yeah, I think we're pretty good that way, like for what we've got in here now. And I think I've done a fairly decent job, you know, getting it, you know, so the same level all the way around. And I'm hopeful that it will sort of, you know, it'll level itself out and everyone will, you know, will have sort of an even amount around. That'd be pretty sweet. I'm going to be making a mess now. Anyway, I'm going to work on cleaning this up without you having to get involved in that. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to do that though, really, because as I am doing this, I believe I'm getting it, making maybe more of a mess, but hey, that's what happens. And I have an idea for what I want to put the rest that's left in here into. I'm going to have to go get that. But yeah, so that's where we are right now. We're going to let this sit up for 2 or 3 hours. Then I'll come back and I'll make up some of the goose paste. And I don't know whether I want to, whether I'll leave that or not, just add some dimension to it. I don't know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there right now. I'm going to get stuff cleaned up, pour some other stuff I want to get poured. And when we move on to the next part, I'll be back. See you then. We're back. I managed to get a few other things poured and or started. I did decide to use, and this is a really large tea light piece. I mean, this thing is massive. So I took some of the leftovers and I put it in there. It is probably not going to be ready for you to see until another video. I had mentioned to you that with the goose paste, you don't need to use a lot of this, and I seriously mean you do not need to use a lot of it. Part of the resin that was left over before I put some of this in, and I think because of the density of it, it's actually sank down into the clear resin in there. So I thought that was kind of neat. And I also decided to drop about 2 or 3 drops of red alcohol ink into it, just because I wanted to know what it would do within it. So whether we'll get to see anything with that when I finally get around to taking that out of the mold, I don't know. And I'm more than likely, I'm going to say I'm going to layer that piece, because if I don't, I'm going to have to do a deep pour, and I'm not sure how I want to do the deep pour part of that, but I'll get to that later. So again, you don't need a lot of this unless you want it really intense, and then I would be careful how much you put in, just so that it doesn't compromise your resin. I also put in some of the dark red starry color series in this as well, just because I kind of wanted to see how the two would operate together. I don't think there would be an issue, but I didn't put a lot in it. And again, this stuff is really, like, it's really pigmented. And as you see, as I put it down, let me grab some more here and pour it into the container. Hopefully you can see that, like how it just sort of, how it just goes back into it. It's kind of neat and maybe not exciting to you, but it is to me. Anyhow, let's get to this now. I made 100 ml. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I did decide to leave the sort of remnants of what we poured earlier. It's been about 3.5 hours since we did that, just because I thought, well, it might add to it, you know, give us sort of a different look to it. So I'm not 100% sure, but I did it anyway. And let me get my stick out. That's kind of the neat thing when you're doing stuff like this is, you know, I'm willing to take people's ideas and, you know, try some different things out. Totally cool. I'm willing to do that, depending, as long as I can. But I also like the fact that when I do this, I've got no one here saying don't do that. So I have creative licensing, if you will, to do what I want. And I do part of it because I want to see how things are going to turn out. And as I said, the only way I'm going to know that is if I play. So here we go. It's a beautiful color. I was actually, when I bought this, I was looking more for a beige. And this particular paste was in the beige listing. When I got it, it was like, ooh, this really isn't beige. They do have, Eye Candy does have a beige, which I would at some point want to get to try it out, because I think it'd be neat to have beige instead of trying to take brown and make it into a beige color. But I was not expecting this to be as, how can I put this? I really wasn't expecting it to be the color it was, and I didn't think it was be as pigmented as it is. Like, it's going to take me forever and a day to get through all of this, I think. But I do love the color, and I think it's going to add, you know, some nice dimension to the bottom of this. Like, I could be really wrong on that, and maybe I'm not. So we'll just get this flowing down the sides of this. The other thing I did with the tea light is I took one of my tools and just like sort of went up and down inside the piece, because I wanted to see what would happen if I could embed some of that in, like what it would do. And obviously, again, not going to know until it has time to set. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to move this around a little bit. I appreciate that I may have some air bubbles in with this glass. I'm not going to call it rocks, I'm going to call it glass. I'd really like to avoid that with this. So I'm going to carefully sort of let it move itself around inside of there, because I don't want it. And you'll notice it's kind of interesting, because with this, I see air bubbles a lot easier in this. And I mixed this with my mixer, just so I got it really well mixed in. So we want to make sure we're getting that everywhere. I'm just going to lift it up so I can see what's going on down there. As I said, I want to get this everywhere. I know I may be moving this around and messing up the rocks a little bit, because obviously it's not set. It hasn't been long enough, but I do want to make sure I get this everywhere. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Good idea, bad idea, don't know. That's what I'm doing. So I want a little bit more because this end I can still see. And if this sort of meanders down into that with the glass, I probably won't mind as long as it doesn't do it too badly. But again, we'll see what it does. And I think what I am going to do, because like I said, I want to make sure that gets where I need it to go. So I'm just going to put that over. I'm just going to take this and very carefully sort of move it in and about. Like I said, I don't want stuff missing here. And it may take just pouring the rest of it in. Yeah, I don't want any missed sections because that's not going to be fun, is it? Yeah, it's getting... Okay, I'm just going to pour the rest of this. I am a little concerned that I'm not getting it all the way to the edges, which is not going to be helpful if that's the case. Which may mean I maybe needed to leave my resin a little bit longer. I'm just trying to think. I don't really have anything unless one of these will work. You know what? This might work okay. And I'm just gonna... Yeah, see, I'm getting into the other resin. I can feel that. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to start making a mess here. So I am just going to take my chances, pour the rest of this in, and we may have to let the chips fall where they may, or the resin in this case. I may have poured this too soon. I figured 3 hours would be a good, like it's setting up for sure. And hopefully, you know, sort of it pushing against it, it will go where I need it to. And we won't end up with issues. Now, the other thing I might attempt to do, and see what happens, and actually before I do that, I'm just wanting to wipe off my paddle. Get the majority of resin off that so it doesn't get too sticky. I mean, it does anyway, but... Maybe we'll just push it a little bit. Make sure we get it where it needs to go. I almost wondered about lifting it up a little bit. Like, I'm not sure if I've got air bubbles in there or what I'm dealing with, but I don't want massive air bubbles in this. I'll ruin it. So we'll see what we can do here. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Who knows, it might make it an interesting piece because of this, eh? That's what we'll go with. It's going to make it an interesting piece. I think we've done it now. I think we've got it. There's a spot down here. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I can almost vision it going down a little bit. And we want to make sure we get it right up to the lip. Okay, got a couple of odd air spots, but I think I've got it now. Let's just go back. We'll do one more sweep. I hate getting into the other resin. Oh well, might make it interesting though, right? Might make it interesting. Alrighty. Let me get this off of here. Let's pour some more of this. Should have known that was going to happen. All right, I think we can fill this up pretty safely. And I think I'm going to have done well with the amount I made. Fingers crossed. We know how much Natalie does not like having to make more. I don't mind if I have too much. I just don't like having to make more. Now I'm just noticing some sort of random, you know what some of that'll be? Might be from those droplets, right? Alright, let's fill this up. Now I do have something in there, hold on a second. That might be a piece of glass or a piece of glass or something from my glitter. I think this is going to be an interesting piece. And in a minute I'm just going to scoot my chair back so I can see if I'm level with the base of this. I don't know about anybody else. I've talked about my sort of knowing when to stop, but I've found times where I've gotten a ridge at the bottom of my pieces, and if I can avoid that and having to sand them down, I like to try and do that. But I'm not always successful. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one little spot there. Yeah. So we won't put a little bit more on. And then I'll do a little bit of squidging with my tool because I'd like it just to have a smooth bottom, and when I say that I don't want this kind of pattern on it. So let's have a look at that. Yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. Let me back up and carefully not bring my camera with me. Not too shabby at all. think we might have just enough in there. Just might have enough in there. Looks like we're pretty level there. Definitely don't want it going over top, do we? All right. So let's stop that. No, won't do any more. We'll trust that my base is smooth and whatnot. All right, we're not going to put any alcohol, like spray any alcohol on that, because I don't want to have an issue with that. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so let's just swirly around this. If I have to have a design, I want something I like. This is so pretty. I really hoping they get some more colors. There was one called Penelope. It's a pink, and I really wanted to get that. They've got some of these that were color shift. There we go. And then it can settle up now however it wants to. Alrighty. So I am really looking forward to seeing how this comes out. Hopefully we are limited on our air bubbles. I see one, what might be one over here, but my trick for air bubbles is using UV resin to fill them in. It works really well. No, it doesn't match, the color. It's clear, but I'd rather, at least get them filled in so when you rub your hands over it, it doesn't have, don't get away from me, flame. It doesn't have anything you run into with your hands, because I don't like that. All right, be very careful using your lighters around your molds because we know they can burn. There we go. Okay, we are going to let this sit and set up. So we didn't need the full 100, and we maybe have, well, we maybe have about 40 mils, so 60 would have done it. I still don't know how much this thing holds all together. And it's funny, I was looking in my book and I saw soap dish, but it would have been for my other one, not this one. The one that's really ornate looking that I threw all kinds of stuff into it. Yeah, I don't know how much this takes. That's unfortunate. Anywho, I'm going to let this sit now. I'm going to figure out what I want to do with the rest of this. I don't know whether I want to pour it in here, which would kind of make sense. I don't know what I want to do with that. So that's not your problem. That would be my problem. When we are ready to take this out of the mold, we will do that and we will see how this looks. And I'm actually going to be curious to know if that design stays, because in some ways that would be really cool too. When it's time to take this out of the mold, we'll be back. We can take our dish out now. So that's what the bottom looks like. It kind of gives you an indication. And actually, when looking through here, because of those droplets, it almost looks like water, which is kind of cool. So let's get this out. And hopefully, we don't have any issues with air bubbles. Oh, this stuff sticks to you. Actually, I think this is going to look kind of cool. An interesting combination of coloring. I like that this is coming out so smoothly. That is brilliant. Okay, so I do have some air bubbles around here in some spots. Look at that. That looks cool. I don't mind that. I have to clean up the mold a little bit. I'm glad I didn't take the bubbles and whatnot out of that. I think that looks pretty cool. I'm not always sure. When I do things like this, I'm not always sure. And sometimes when I do pieces like this, they don't come out looking the way I want them to. You get an image in your head, you think it's going to look one way, and it comes out another way. But I actually think that this came out pretty good. And you might be going, well, she's kind of questioning whether she likes it or not. I don't not like it. And if you're anything like me, sometimes you have to sit and let things just sort of digest, and you got to look at them a few times to see what you think of them. But I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. And I do really like what looked like droplets in it. I think that's very cool. Now, did we do okay? I think I did okay with the rocks and the fact that it doesn't feel like I've got air bubbles there, which is brilliant. And let's start here. Work our way all the way up. I did okay. I did okay on that. No, I like that. I like how that turned out. I do have, as I mentioned, I have some air bubbles here on the back, but I will fill those in with UV resin. That'll fix that up. So it's not a big deal, and it's on the bottom at the back, and it's a solid color, so it really isn't a big deal. That did turn out nicely. I'm pleased with it. Some people may not like the color combination, which is totally cool. I like the idea that I did the red and white. I wanted something that used both colors. I didn't want just one color or the other. And it's got just enough sparkle and glitz in it. I think that's cool. The more I look at that, the more I'm going to like it. Okay, that's it. That's our video. Let me know what you think. Let me know, again, if you've done anything like this, or just share a piece of trivia with me on your resin escapades. And I will see you in the next video. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for watching my videos. It does mean a lot to me. I hope you have a great creative day. And I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.